Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I'm proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So in this episode, what I'm going to try and explain to you is a thing called brand name recognition. Now, when you see the Jacksons, you see a music group and you see human beings and you see people. So a lot of people that don't actually understand business don't understand what brand name recognition is. So I'm going to show you a little bit something different. Now, so this would be the Pringles brand. And within the Pringles brand, you can get a whole variety of flavored, different kinds of flavored chips. But still, when you look at it there, it's still the same brand. If you look at this here, see the package is the same. If you gave a blind person a can of Pringles, don't you think that they would be able to tell you this is a can of Pringles? Okay, so, and then they would taste it and they'd be able to tell, you would know that because you could open it up, you would pull out a chip, the chip has a certain shape to it, right? The Pringles chip is shaped a certain way, then it has flavors, then you say, oh, this is one of the flavored ones, or this is the original one. But even a blind person would be able just to feel the can probably and say, this might be Pringles, so they open up, oh, it's definitely Pringles, okay? So even with somebody who's blind, the things of the signs and the keys of what a brand is, those things are still going to be prominent even with a blind person. And so that's what I'm saying is there's this brand name recognition, and it can appear all kinds of certain ways. And that's what they were doing with the Jacksons. The Jacksons here, the Jackson 5, this is a brand. And that's what Motown was doing. They created a brand called the Jackson 5. And then created the family, the whole family of the Jacksons, okay? So that Jacksons brand, through the Jacksons 5, and then what we know as the Jacksons, it's a brand. And now, other brands similar, like something like this would be like Bic lighters. Now, a brand like this, each individually, this product is the same. Each one is exactly the same product. They all do exactly the same thing. They're shaped the same way. They're all exactly the same. But within, just by changing the colors, look at how much difference there is. And then you could put any color you want, but it's not going to matter because the actual product, it's exactly the same. Every time you buy one of a Bic lighter like this, it's the same Bic lighter. The same Bic lighter, doesn't matter what color it is, what packaging you put on it. It's exactly the same. And this would be the brand of a Bic lighter. And you can do anything with that brand, but as long as the product is the same. And so these are the things that they're doing with the Jacksons. The Jacksons, so when you hear the Michael Jackson singing, you instantly are going to associate him back to the Jackson image of being a part of the Jacksons. And this is actually fundamentally why people are so frustrated with my story, because I'm breaking that. They think that I am breaking it up. I'm messing with that because I'm taking Michael out of the Jackson image and I'm bringing him into something else. So now, like when we look at the Pringles here, right? There's all the different flavors. And so here you can clearly see, okay, these are all Pringles. Even though they look different and they taste different, they're Pringles, right? Same thing with the Bic lighters. They look different, but they're identically the same. The product, because they have such a strong brand name recognition. So the Jacksons, they've got that strong brand name recognition on the Jacksons. And now it can be like the Pringles. They don't have to be identical. Like the Bic lighter, you can mess with them in the pretty colors, but the product's identical. These guys didn't have to look exactly the same because the product branding on them was so strong. And now you look at the clothes, all similar, right? They all look the same. So right there, you're just seeing similarities. And this is what Motown did to you with these afros. The little afros, they made them all look the same. And really what it really was is with Michael, all it is that he's black. If he's black, that's enough. All he had to do was be black, because then it doesn't matter what he looked like or whatever it was, they were going to justify that within the realm of being a Jackson. And I can prove that because there's a major thing with Michael. Right here you have all these guys. None of them are even on anywhere close to the stratosphere of the performer and artist as Michael Jackson is. Michael Jackson's in a whole other realm. So like even when you're sitting here and you're looking at him and you're seeing the similarities, well, there is one glaring thing that's we have to admit. None of them can sing like Michael or dance like Michael. He was a real artist, something totally different. Janet comes up and she's being trained and to follow and emulate Michael Jackson. She's literally a Michael Jackson impersonator. But the reality is, when you people think she could sing, she can't sing. And, you know, Janet Jackson's completely she's would be a bubblegum pop artist type of thing. She's being produced. She doesn't do anything. They take this, she has an image. They have all these other people who make the music and they create the image and they do it all for her. And she doesn't have to be a real star because they're creating this image thing. And she falls in under that Jackson's brand, and that's what they did with her. But when you look at it clearly, like right here, so then you start looking, people say they look alike, and it's like, no, what you're seeing is brand name recognition. Because the one thing is like if Michael was if he was 6 feet 7 inches tall, right, people would say, oh, well, we can accept that within that, somehow that fit within the Jacksons, that he was a freak. And that's what you people are doing with the talent of Michael. You're doing the same thing. But I want it to be clear that his talent should be as obvious as a guy that's standing next to them that's 6'7". It would be so obviously different. Okay, I want it to be so clearly obvious that Michael's talent, people have to recognize that his talent needs to be looking like as if he would be a man standing there 6'7". The appearance and the difference compared to what they are, it needs to be drastic. You need to understand how drastic it is. It's very drastic. There's a difference there. And so, but we accept it within the Jacksons. But now here, just look at a simple thing. Because here's Tito. So Tito looks like Joe. And see, the thing about the Jacksons, they have a thicker, because most of their body forms actually is more like Joe. And Joe has a little bit of a thicker body. And that's how these guys actually have a little bit of a more thickness. Where Michael has this rail thin, because that's from Diana Ross. He's got the Diana Ross figure, and he's got this rail thin figure. And see, they all have this more a fat, rounder face. Like, look at how fat and round. Okay, fat and round. But this Jermaine looks totally like Catherine, so it's a little. He looks identical to Catherine, but it's totally different. He's looking like Catherine. This guy, just look at it like these are individual people. Like, look at it if this was the band NSYNC, right? Just a boy band. If this was just a boy band, if somebody told you, okay, if you have no knowledge of the brand of the Jacksons, that's what you guys have got to get past. And what you guys keep coming at me and you're saying all this stuff, and I'm saying, you guys are attacking me with a brand, like a commercial. You guys are so dumb of the image. You don't even know what you're talking about. You guys are yelling at me facts, and I'm like, your facts are like commercial from a commercial. That's how stupid you guys are. So, when you look at these guys, the reality, first of all, the Jacksons have a different look, but within the Jacksons look, you can see the similarity of their body forms from Joe, really a lot of their Joe body, and then you can see like the Catherine mix so much in Jermaine, and then you can see that the mix between the rest of them, that it's there. Clearly, because you have the heavy dominant Joe dominant in Tito, and you have the heavy dominant influence of Catherine in Jermaine. And this is also what allows people to say, oh, I see it in Michael. But the reality is, like, look at this guy. Look at this guy. They don't look anything alike. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. They don't look anything alike. The reality is Jermaine and Tito don't look anything alike. So when people talk about they all look alike, I'm just like, you guys, to me, first of all, it's ignorant, stupid. The second thing, it's really racist. To say that these guys look alike, that's a really racist blacks against black people, saying black people all look alike. Well, damn, look at them. And I can prove that Berry Gordy intentionally did this because I have other footage about him talking about one of the first Miracle records, and he put a big gorilla, and he said, I wanted to put the happiest monkey I could on that thing so white people would like us. This is what Berry Gordy was doing to appeal to white people. He put a happy monkey on the Miracles record. That's what he actually, in his explanation of it, that's why he did it. So It's clearly obvious that that's what he's doing. So Berry Gordy was trying to do this whole image. It's always this brand, the Jacksons brand. And so that's why they're all wearing these afros, because he's branding them under an image of the Jacksons. That's what he's creating here. And then it doesn't matter to you that Michael's the only talent, because he's branded him as a Jackson. But the reality is, this guy doesn't look like this guy. This guy doesn't look like either of them. So when you just look at those three right there, it's like there's Catherine, there's Joe, and this is something else. Michael's something else. Well, just look at there's Joe, there's Catherine. This guy doesn't look like either one of those guys. But within the branding, these guys all appear to be a family and a brother, and they all look the same, but they don't. I don't see, like when I see the Jacksons just like that, I see Pringles. I see a brand that are totally different. They all, look at these, there's dill pickle over here, here's cheeseburger, over here's jalapeno, okay? They're totally different. But the reality is a blind guy would pick up each one of these, if he grabbed it in his hand, it would look identical to him, okay, until he actually tasted it. It would be absolutely identical until the point of which he tasted it. That's brand name recognition. The same with this Bic lighter. The Bic lighter has a feel. You can feel it in your hands. The way it's shaped, it's rounded, it's perfect. Anybody that knows, if you use Bic lighters, that's all you'll ever use. There's no lighters that are ever good. There's only one lighter out there, the Bic lighter. It's perfect. It has the perfect size flame. It's not adjustable flame. It's a one size flame, and it's perfect. It's built really good too. It's really strong. They're literally the perfect lighter. You put in your hand, you wouldn't know what color it is, and they have all the designs and all this stuff. The actual product is the same. It's a brand name recognition, and that's what the Jacksons is, and that's what they sold us, because the Jacksons, after they left Motown, the Jacksons did the same thing with Joe Jackson. He was always doing that brand name recognition, and one of the main things about what Joe Jackson does with Michael, every time, if you ever heard Joe Jackson talking about Michael Jackson's talent, he doesn't talk about Michael Jackson's talent as an individual. He always says, oh, he's a Jackson. He always, as soon as he can, he always going to relate that back to a Jackson, because he wants Michael Jackson's talent being labeled within the brand name recognition of the Jacksons empire. And that's what we all lived through. And it lasted for so long. Like Michael Jackson, you figure he was a star for 40 years, okay? So that branding of the Jacksons imagery and all that stuff, for 40 years they did that to us. It was so powerful that it's got you people to think that Tito looks like Michael. What are you talking about? First, he doesn't look nothing like Jermaine. There's Catherine, there's Joe, and here's Michael. Within that context, there's massive difference. They don't look anything alike. But then you can say, well, there's the Jackson image, and they fit within the Jackson image and stuff. And it's just a brand name recognition. But then the reality is, the one shining thing that puts them off is, like I said, Michael has an extraordinary talent, which it should be so obviously clear, like as if he was 6'7" tall standing next to these guys. It would be dramatic. And so, but for some reason, you guys don't see that dramatic difference. You still bring it back within to the Jacksons. And I say, no, because now the true story has happened, and now you see the real talent comes from Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. And now we know that that's why Berry Gordy was so doing this Jackson imagery and the branding of the Jacksons, because he wanted to make sure that nobody understood or saw that Michael wasn't actually a Jackson, that his talent, he wanted to make sure he kept that talent within the Jackson family, because they didn't want anybody to know the real story, that Michael's real parents are Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. Michael was abandoned by them so that they could become stars under the guidance of Berry Gordy. That's the whole story of what actually the real story, that actually happened. When are you people going to stop caring about what you've been forced upon you, the image of the Jacksons? Are we here to uphold this fake image of the Jacksons? Or, like I say to you, I'm here telling Michael Jackson's story. I'm only for one person out of all of them, the only person, even when I knock him down, I will do what I do to him, because it's the truth, and that's what he's going to demand of me, and that's what's going to come out, the truth. I'm only going to tell the truth, and the truth is he's not a Jackson. I can prove it, Anybody that dares stand up against me, you're going to get proven real quick that I know what I'm talking about and you don't. And since you all are so weak, you can't, first of all, you can't deal with yourself not being able to understand what's going on. Then the second thing is you're not actually Michael Jackson fans. You're not a fan of his. You're a fan of the brand, the Jacksons, and you're scared to tear down the brand, the Jacksons, that was created by Berry Gordy and all that stuff. You're all afraid, you're all so controlled by that brand that you do not care about Michael Jackson. Just like he knew his whole life, that's why he turns into a drug addict, and that's why he's dead. When are you people ever going to care about him? Nobody ever cared about him while he was alive. Now there's finally one person here that's telling the whole true story. Here, you guys want to know who Michael Jackson is? The truth is out. Freedom will reign over Michael Jackson's name for here and evermore.